Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here for today's video, man. We got a video by Austin Sweat titled The 8 NBA Awards That Made No Sense. And I will say, man, one thing that grinds my bitch-ass gears is definitely the award system in the NBA. Because, like, one year the way you can win the MVP has nothing to do with the next year, and it's all story-based. And at that point, it's like, should things that are, like, narrative-driven be a deciding factor when it comes to, you know, making the Hall of Fame and accolades that come with that? And I don't know, man. This guy rubs it the wrong way. Ain't nobody care about a Russell Westbrook triple-double anymore, let me tell you that. If he did it now, it would actually be pretty impressive. But, yeah, statement still stands. Let's get it.
Today we look at 8 times where NBA awards have made
no sense throughout
NBA history. These awards are given out every single season, and it's every few years that one will be given out to a player that just makes you question everything. I mean, we even saw it this year with the MVP award. The entire situation was a mess from the start. You see, Nikola Jokic had rightfully won the last 2 MVPs. He deserved them thanks to being able to lead his teams to some of the best records in the NBA, while averaging a near triple-double on extremely efficient shooting numbers. It was a clear choice in both years that he deserved the award. In his first season, he nearly single-handedly led Denver to the 3rd seed after Jamal Murray tore his ACL, and in the next year it was the same thing. The Nuggets were down Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., so it was only Jokic and Aaron Gordon. Well, Nikola averaged 27, 14, and 8, led his team to the 6th seed, and easily won his 2nd MVP. Then we get to this past season, and it's the exact same thing. Everyone's finally healthy in Denver, but Jokic still averaged 25, 12, and nearly 10 assists. He nearly
he's just the definition of efficiency.
A triple-double, does so on 38% from 3,
he's
and
perfected the center position
in the Eastern Conference. At
least
to me, it seemed like this should easily be another Jokic MVP season. But I just knew when Joel Embiid came out and was putting up 33 points a game all year long that they were gonna give the award to him if he could stay healthy. And he did. He played just about the same number of games as Jokic did, so that wasn't the issue, and they did give him the award. And listen, Joel does deserve his props. He led the NBA in scoring.
I don't know. It just gives me like it just gives him like McDonald's Happy Meal vibes. You know, like I remember growing up, you know, I would go with my cousin. We go to McDonald's, get ourselves a Happy Meal, and you know, she would always get the cool toy. So I would cry to my grandma, say, "I want that toy too." And then you know she'd go up there and be like, "Well, can we get him a toy too? Can we make him stop crying, please?" And then they said, "No, you just have to buy another Happy Meal, man," which meant more chicken nuggets.
As a big man while averaging 11 rebounds a night on 50% from the field. And this past season, he led Philly to nearly the exact same record as the Denver Nuggets. It's just that, at least in my mind, I felt that the voters were bored of Jokic and they really didn't want to give him
LeBron would have 10 MVPs
for whatever reason. But then he proved them all wrong when he went and won the NBA championship along with the Finals MVP, kind of proving to everyone that they voted for the wrong guy in the regular season. But voters fatigue is a real thing. Just look at Michael Jordan's career and the fact that he only won 5 MVP awards. And I know, only 5. But if you look at his career, there's evidence to believe that after his 2nd season in the league, he legitimately could have won MVP every year for the rest of his 10 full seasons in Chicago. Before you think I'm over-exaggerating or just a Michael Jordan fan, let's look at the evidence that he should have won his 6th and 7th league MVPs, but didn't. Like in 1993, at this point MJ had already won the 88, 91, and 92 league MVPs.
I think people are over Michael Jordan. I think we all agree.
And it was in the 3rd year of his first three-peat. Originally, Charles Barkley won the award, which was his only ever MVP. And it was well deserved. Chuck averaged 25, 12, and 5 and led his newly joined Phoenix Suns team to a 62-20 record. He took them from being a playoff team the year before to a real championship contender now. And seeing how he transformed that team helped his case for the award, on top of the fact that he was an all-star and made All-NBA first team. But then you look at the season Michael Jordan had, where he led his team to 57 wins, averaged 32, 6, and 5, led the NBA in scoring, steals, doing all defensive first team, and finished in 2nd place for the Defensive Player of the Year award. But Barkley still won MVP. And if that wasn't bad enough, MJ got his revenge when he met Charles and the Suns in the finals, averaged 41 points a game against them, and won Finals MVP.
There we go. That's the important one.
Situation happened to MJ just 4 years later when Karl Malone originally won the MVP. And we can be honest, in 97 Malone had a historic year by averaging 27 and 10, leading his team to a 64 and 18 record, and made the All-Defensive First first team. But again, Jordan's level was just slightly better and on a different level. When he averaged 29 points a game, again won the scoring title, made the All-NBA first team, finished 5th for Defensive Player of the Year, and even led his team to a better 69-13 record, which is one of the best in NBA history. Then of course, once again, it was only
like he plays so well that he makes everybody else just look like just horrible.
32-7-6, led his team to a victory against the Jazz in 6 games, and he might not have gotten the actual MVP, but I think he would have much rather taken the Finals MVP, which he did anyways. And speaking of Finals MVPs, that leads us right to the 2015 NBA Finals and the discussion on who should have actually won it that season, Stephen Curry or Andre Iguodala, who actually won it. There's an interesting case going both ways here, so I want you to comment below and let me know.
Yo, that pink diamond E card though, man.
As the case for Steph
They
Curry,
went hard on NBA 2K, whatever it was.
MVP. He led the team in scoring and assists in the finals, and clearly without Steph Curry, Golden State's offense would have been terrible and they probably wouldn't have won a single game. People just said Steph didn't show up as much as they'd like compared to what he did in the regular season, but he was the best player on the winning team and he didn't win their finals MVP.
Yeah, that's kind of disrespectful.
Either that Andre Iguodala hadn't started a single game all year long in the regular season or the playoffs until the final 3 games of the finals. He came off the bench for half of the NBA finals and still won finals MVP. People also don't like the fact that it was given to Andre for his defense on LeBron, even though James still averaged 36, 16, and 9.
Well,
okay, we had that, but now let's look at the other side of the argument on Andre Iguodala's side. Sure, LeBron James still put up these monster numbers, but if you look deeper, LeBron actually only shot 39% from the field that series and 31% from 3, and had to take over 32 shots a game to put up those numbers. And while Andre was the primary defender on James, the Warriors were doing everything they could to hide Steph Curry and their defense just so he couldn't get exposed. At the same time, Andre actually contributed a lot more than just defense here, because let's not forget how that series was going. 3 games in, the Cavaliers were up 2-1, but then an assistant coach decided to put Iguodala in the starting lineup in place of Andrew Bogut, and Golden State's death lineup was created. And then they didn't lose another game to Cleveland, winning 3 straight and the championship. On top of that, look at the shooting numbers from that series. Iguodala
you gotta give that to Curry though.
From 3 than Steph
I don't like
Curry,
it.
while also
That's
putting
Curry's.
up 16 a game. Honestly, in my opinion, I think the award could have gone either way, but at the end of the day, Golden State
that wasn't
still
fair
had a shot
then.
had Iguodala not played, but had Steph not played, they may not have won a game. So I still think the award should have gone to Curry. Now, another time an NBA award made no sense would be back in the 2000s.
Here we go.
When Marc Gasol won the Defensive Player of the Year award, but only made all defensive second.
That makes no sense. That makes 0 sense. Like, it's like they actually came up to this and like as a. It makes no sense.
How can you win the award for being the best defensive player, but not make the all-defensive first team? But wait, it gets even worse, because there were actually 2 centers named to the first team that year thanks to a tie, and neither were Marc Gasol.
Who were they?
Instead, it was Tyson Chandler and Joakim Noah. So
that's a heck of some names to be with though. Serge Ibaka, Tyson Chandler, Joakim Noah, Tony the Tiger, man. Wow.
Technically, this had Mark as the 3rd best defensive big man in the league that year. And this is the year that LeBron James argues hurts his career because he finished 2nd for Defensive Player of the Year that season. And had he won it, it would have had him as
All-NBA first
and league MVP had this have not happened. But you see, it worked out a little differently because apparently NBA coaches voted for Defensive Player of the Year and media members did all the All-NBA teams. And that's where things got messed up. I definitely trust the coaches' opinions more, so Mark should have rightfully won the award. And the way he anchored the Grizzlies to one of the best defensives in the league that year proved it. But the NBA really should have had a different process because something like this should never happen and it still makes no sense. Then a little later in his career, LeBron James would find himself in the middle of another controversial award when he won the 2020 NBA championship. And after the Lakers
they
won
call
that
it,
year,
I believe.
people were calling the win fake and saying the title would always have an asterisk next to it, while he himself was saying it was the hardest championship to win of all time. And at the end of the day, the win was just a win. I don't think it deserves any special treatment going either way because everyone was on an even playing field that year. And if anything,
yeah, like in the end of the day, like what makes the NBA Finals? Is it the arena or is it the players on the court playing in the game? Like I really don't understand why people don't think that's not a natural championship right there. Like that is. There's your best players against my best players. Let's get it. Let's play some basketball. If to me, every other NBA championship except the 2004 Detroit Pistons should have an asterisk next to it, man. And the ones the bad boys won.
Lakers due to the fact that they were the 1 seed in the West that season and should have had home court advantage all the way through the playoffs. But since every game was in Orlando without fans, nobody had home court advantage. On the other hand though, if you combine that with the fact that Anthony Davis had way more time than usual to rest and not get any injuries, which worked out in their favor, I think both probably even out. At the end of the day, that 2020 team was an extremely talented roster, and it shouldn't have been surprising that they won it all that year. LeBron James also finds himself indirectly in one more NBA award that made no sense. Every year the league gives out dozens of awards, and one of them is the Executive of the Year award, basically to whoever ran their team the best. Well, in 2010, Pat Riley was able to bring in both Chris Bosh and LeBron James. The
GM get himself an award?
The Miami Heat, so of course he won the award. But he actually tied that year and had to share it with Gar Forman of the Chicago Bulls. And it makes no sense as to why. Pat Riley brought in Bosh and LeBron. Gar Forman signed Carlos Boozer and Kyle Korver.
Boozer and Zach Efron
are not the same. And even though the Bulls had Derrick Rose win MVP that year and Tom Thibodeau win Coach of the Year, those aren't directly related to being a GM. Plus, the fact that the Heat eliminated the Bulls in 5 games of the playoffs should have been enough to give the award to Pat Riley straight up. Now, going back to all NBA teams for just a minute, the fact that a player from every position has to be picked for each of the 3 teams has led to some real awkward choices in the past, specifically in 2016, when the center position was at one of its lowest ever points. The league didn't have a ton of reliable big men.
Show Drummond like that, man.
It ended up being DeAndre Jordan, which was just really weird considering the fact that he wasn't even an all-star that year. But apparently he was one of the top 5 players in the league. Of course, he got a big boost thanks to playing with Chris Paul and on the contending Clippers, but I mean, come on. DeMarcus Cousins made the 2nd team, and he was an all-star and averaged 27 and 11. But DeAndre got picked over him, and just because a center had to be selected to be on the 1st team, they hit DeAndre Jordan on it while Chris Paul was on the 2nd team. It's just wild that so much money and contract stipulations are tied up in players making all NBA teams or not, and they're just thrown together like this. But now we have to mention a couple NBA All-Stars that didn't make sense. Like the fact that in 2011, Yao Ming only played 5 games before suffering a career-ending knee injury, but was still eligible to be voted as an All-Star, and thanks to his popularity in China.
You gotta see the All-Star voting now, man. You got Taco Fall, who's playing it over in Shanghai, man, still getting like top 10 votes.
He was voted as an All-Star starter. The voting process on all these awards are just flawed, and this proves that no matter how well
fan voting is kind of
or any year, he was gonna make an all-star team. This past season also brought us some confusing all-star appearances, or really a lack thereof. I don't think there was any excuse for Aaron Gordon not making the all-star team this year. He was without a doubt one of the biggest snubbed players that I can think of in the last few years. It's basically a tradition at this point that the best team in the NBA, or at least in each conference,
he's thought of as a role player now, I
guys
believe,
into the all-star team just for that. It's why the Atlanta Hawks had both Kyle Korver and Jeff Teague make the all-star game in 2015. They had a 60-22 record that year, so they got 4 guys into the game, even though 2 of them definitely didn't deserve it. Well, this year the Nuggets had the best record in the West, but only Nikola Jokic made the team. But I get it, if you want to put one guy in, you gotta take one guy out. Well, thanks.
Alright guys, that's all we got for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Peace out, my friends.